Temptation of Sarah Jane Smith. Again, liking whatever happened to Sarah Jane Smith, I wasn't really looking forward to this episode. Since I didn't like the what if scenario, I wasn't sure I'd like the go back in time scenario, meet your parents in the past, try not to change anything, which does happen, etc. But now, during this marathon, I've actually been looking forward to this episode. In fact, in my opinion, I prefer this episode a lot more than whatever happened to Sarah Jane. When Sarah Jane returns a boy who has slept through a time fissure to 1951, she realizes she has found a way to meet her parents that she never knew. As predictable, Sarah Jane does decide to go and meet her parents. However, when she arrives, it turns out it is the day of her parents' departure. So in order to prevent this from happening, she locks the car. As you'd expect, things do not go according to plan, and Sarah Jane and Luke fall victim to a revenge plot by the Trickster. This is the sequel to whatever happened to Sarah Jane, and like any other good sequels, this gets bigger and better. I didn't used to like it since, like with the last one, it was something to do with something I didn't like. In the last one, it was a non-existence, whilst this one is travel back in time to stop an event. But as I got older, I actually started to like it more and more. I think it's fair to say that Elizabeth Sladen gives one of her best actings in the show. Once again, I do like seeing Sarah Jane's family and early childhood play out. It's just so beautiful to look at them. And it was horrible to see her having to choose to cause their death. It shows how much of a hero she really is. How much she knew that even though she could have had the life she always wanted, she knew she couldn't have it. This is exactly how much of an impact the Doctor has left her. If she never met him, like all of us, if she never knew the Doctor, she would have saved her family and it would have been the end of the world. She would have had the life she wanted, but because she travelled with the Doctor, she knew she couldn't have that. Plus, Elizabeth Sladen looks gorgeous in that pink dress. I can sense her voice in the back of my head saying classic series. It's something Sarah Jane used to wear whilst travelling with the Doctor. It's got a sense of the new change of clothes for whenever the Doctor regenerates. This story also features the return of the Trickster. I didn't talk much about him since I wasn't sure what to say about him in the previous series. However, now, in my opinion, I enjoy him more in this episode. The Trickster plays a very clever game. I do admire the Trickster is messing with time. While he does it in his previous appearance, this one actually makes it more grand. That is pretty much Sarah Jane's interpretation of time travel. We got glimpses of it in the previous one, sure, but this one has done much better. The actor who plays him is brilliant. The sinister sound of his demon-like voice echoing throughout the episode. And while I do find his evil cackle a little bit irritating at times, he still gives a strong, diabolical presence. Plus, it actually gives the rivalry between Sarah Jane and the Trickster more impact than it did in the last one. The Grask also returns to the series, and this was a brilliant entrance. He starts off as this boy named Oscar, and he literally spends most of the time acting all creepy. This kid just makes me laugh and cringe at the same time. While I did like him in the previous story, in this one he has more of a story arc to him. He shows that he is more than just a slave to the Trickster. He has a sense of character development. It makes him more than a stereotypical alien slave to the main villain. You can see the shame and depression in his eyes. He only wishes to be free, and he does eventually get it in the end. The rest of the characters do really well in the story. Luke serves as the voice of reason to Sarah Jane. Even though what Sarah Jane is doing is wrong, he still supports her. Clyde and Ronnie work pretty well together trying to survive the new apocalyptic London. I was a little thrown off of the fact that Stephen from Basil Brush was in this show, but I think he actually stands out as Eddie Smith, a charming husband and father. And Rosanna Lavelle as Barbara Smith is really sweet. They both make a good couple. I can clearly see them as Sarah Jane's parents. Barbara has Sarah Jane's chirpy curiosity but soft personality, and Eddie has his strict but lovable charm. I was a bit afraid of the idea of them not believing that this stranger is their daughter from the future. Go with the whole, don't be ridiculous, don't be mad, how can you be her, and so on. But I'm actually pleased that they took the discovery a little more gentler. And their fond farewell in the end does bring a tear to my eye every time. Now, I have to be nitpicky. I will admit there are some similarities to the previous story, but I'm happy to ignore that since I enjoy the execution and the extendedness of this scenario. But I think the whole thing about finding out why they left, I kind of understand what they were going with, saying that Sarah Jane was meant to go back in time to see her parents, or whether what actually happened in the episode actually happened in the timeline. But you know, wibbly wobbly timey wimey. What makes this episode stand out is its scale. Director Graham Harper really outdoes himself. The acting is outstanding, the landscapes of the city, the high-panning cinematography, the amount of supporting artists, props and costumes. This is high BBC drama quality. I actually like the colour grading of the episode as well, from the bright colours of Foxgrove to the dim grey-scale ruins of London. The Temptation of Sarah Jane is a beautiful story. This is a beautiful example of Sarah Jane at her best. In fact, everything and everyone at their finest. In fact, watching this again, I think this would have served as a good finale to the series. But of course, we still got the next story to review, and I'll make a decision by then. I guess some people who are not a fan of the previous story might not like this either. Or maybe they will. I guess it's not a bad idea to take a look. Feel free to travel back in time and see for yourself.